right, people, welcome to Outta Pocket with RGIII, hosted by your boy and the lovely 125-time All-American Griffin. Today, oh my goodness, we got NASCAR royalty in the building, people. He's been named one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers. He's the third youngest Cup Series champion ever after he won it in 2020, and the driver who has dominated the fan vote as the most popular driver year after year. He's the son of Hall of Famer Bill Elliott, but he didn't ride legacy. He built his own lane at nearly 200 miles per hour. When the pressure hits, the red line, he delivers. When the moment gets loud, he gets faster. He's one of the most respected competitors in motorsports today. The one, the only, Chase Elliott is in the building. Let's go.
Man, that was a killer intro. You did good. I appreciate that. It was, you hyped me up, so thank you.
Nah, listen, we love to show love where it is warranted, and you have earned that, especially coming off your victory at Martinsville. Your first victory of the season.
Martinsville, good job.
Thank you, appreciate you. You know, Massachusetts, all that stuff. But it's also
close enough.
It's also the first win for Chevrolet and Hendrick Motorsports for you, and it positions you really as a serious championship contender again. And that leads us to what's that?
Opening drive.
Let's get it rolling.
As Robert mentioned, you got your first win of the season in Martinsville. How dangerous is your team right now compared to the rest of the field?
Yeah, I like where we are. I feel like, our season's been kind of up and down. Like we've had some weeks where I'm like, man, we're really right where I want to be. We've had some weeks not so much, but Martinsville was certainly a really good one. And our season is so long. Like you have to sit back and pump the brakes a little bit, because it is great to have a win. We've never had a win this early in the season. Like all those things are awesome. And I do think our team is in a good place, but peaking at the right time is really important. And I think for us, it's a great foundation for us right now to just build and try and keep putting, keep stacking some wins and do it early. So it's not like one of those things where you can just say, oh yeah, we have a win, like we got it figured out, because the year is just way too long. So it's great. I think we're in a good spot, but a lot of racing left and a lot of room to improve yet too.
Chase, I'm a big NASCAR fan, have been for a really long time, ever since the Dale Earnhardt days, the Jeff Gordon rivalries. But I'm a football guy, right, at heart. And what you just mentioned sounds like to us about what the Kansas City Chiefs have kind of gone through. It feels like in regular seasons in the past 5 years, where it's like, man, we got to get to week 17 first before we can, really start to like lock in and do things the right way. What do you think changed for you guys from the beginning of the season up into this win at Martinsville?
Well, I don't think much really changed at all. I feel like we've been in a pretty good spot. There's been some high spots throughout the season. We had a really close call at Daytona, which would have been, a incredible way to start the year. Fell short of that, so that was a huge bummer and letdown for us right off the rip. And I was really proud of the way we recovered from that, because that was one of those things that could really hang over you, I think, for a long time as a team if you weren't careful. And I feel like, fortunately for us, like we have enough experience. We've been doing it long enough, and we just kind of all understood how long the season was, that we were able to get back into a good groove. And that showed at Vegas. Thought we had a great shot to win the race at Vegas. Came up a little short, behind Denny there. And yeah, Alan made a great call at Martinsville and got us in a position to grab the win there. So yeah, like it's been really solid, but I don't think anything has changed. I think more than anything, it's just been how we kind of rebounded from a rough first week. And I think that says a lot about just the resilience of our team, and in the sense of a kind of a mental standpoint of being able to reset, lock in, and go back to work. So I was really, really proud of everybody that goes to the track with us for being able to do that and accomplish, what we did a couple weeks ago.
You said earlier that you're clearly a NASCAR fan. Yeah. I'd never been to a NASCAR race until we went to the one in Austin, and you said your season is long, but also your one single race day is so long. Oh my God, I had no clue you guys were actually driving for that long. Like, what kind of mental preparation does that take?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I have one for y'all too. After being there, because I appreciate y'all coming out as well. I'm curious to get your take, but I think from our perspective, it's you're right. It is like the season is a marathon. It's from February to November. It's a long year, and I think a big piece of it is the season is extremely long from a calendar year standpoint, but there's only one race a week, right? And so there's big gaps in between. And I'm sure you went through some of this as well on the football side. It's like you have a bad day or a bad race or a bad game. Like, I want to fix it right now. I don't want to wait 7 days to fix it, right? Or to get another shot. But our races are long. I guess I've been doing it long enough that it's kind of my norm. I'm prepared each week for a 3.5, 4 hour race, and that's just kind of what NASCAR has always been. So yeah, I don't really know any different. That's just kind of that's what it's always been to me. So that part of it, I think, is pretty normal. But certainly the year can drag on, and especially in those summer months if you're not careful. So important to always leave a little bit left in the tank for those last 10 or 12 weeks.
That's a great question, by the way, because when we were there, when it comes to the NFL, playing professionally, you're on, but like pregame, we're in there, the fans are around, don't get me wrong, but like you can be selective with like who you interact with. You got your family on the field, you're warming up, you're doing your whole thing, and then you're in the locker room, and from that point on, it's like it's go time. But you guys are not that way. Like, I mean, you guys are mingling with the media, mingling with the special guests, talking, that the racers meetings, you guys are talking to everybody. Obviously you got to deal with some of us who end up coming to the different cars like right before the race. And it's like, until you get in that car, you're basically a salesman. It's not that way in other professional sports, especially not in football. How did you get used to that, first and foremost? And then how do you maintain your mental capacity? Because you're also racing, as you said, 3 to 4 hours, and you don't get a water break. I know the pit stop, but that's not like being off the field for 5 minutes in the NFL when the defense is on the field. How do you maintain being locked in so that you can go be the best you can be?
Yeah, it's a great question, and honestly, it's one that I have a hard time explaining to people all the time. It is so unique, and I think that's one thing that NASCAR is extremely well known for, the amount of access that we give to our fans, and I think there's definitely two sides of that, because being a race car driver and or any sport, right? Like there are obligations outside of what people see on TV, or, for us, there's more than just driving the car, or, more than just the competition side, right? Like, we are very much a corporate driven sport, and we rely heavily on great partners. And, fortunately for a lot of us, we do have great partners, and we want to take care of them because ultimately they're taking care of us, right? So you want to make sure that they're getting the bang for the buck that they're spending. And if that's taking care of guests that they have at the racetrack that weekend, like, you just want to make sure that those folks are having a good time and, are out there enjoying themselves. But then, that competitor side of you is so, it can be cutthroat. It is, definitely there's a time to lock in, and there's a time where all that stuff, becomes second to the main job and the main focus. And that, for me, is sometimes challenging. And I would say a lot of us would probably be in that same boat, because, and it's something that you learn, but man, it can be tough. But flipping that switch from being able to mingle and, take pictures and smile, to being the type of competitor that I personally feel like I have to be to go succeed, is very, very different. And it's probably not super healthy to go from one to the other, but it is, to me, essential. And I think it's something that, you have to be able to turn that off and turn that on. And I'll admit I don't do the best job of it some weeks, but, always try to be true to, myself, I guess, first and foremost. But when it's time to go get in the car, I just always want to make sure I'm giving my team everything I have. Like, if I'm coming up short in that regard, I feel like I've failed that day. So yeah, flipping the switch is tough, but it can be a difficult thing to lock in all day. But the reward is being able to go race cars for a living, right? And that part of it is definitely keeps you coming back. It's tough. It's very difficult. The competition is extremely high. And when you have a good day, it makes it all worth it, and right. That part we enjoy.
What's one thing that people get wrong about what actually wins races in NASCAR?
Well, that was one question I had for y'all too, kind of was like, what was your what was something that you had right going in, and what was something that maybe you were surprised by. But I'll ask that in a minute. But I think for us, the races are just, you kind of touched on it a minute ago, and I think so often people think of NASCAR racing and they think of, going fast and turning left, or like just, death gripping the steering wheel, going as fast as you can go for 4 hours. And that's just totally could not be more inaccurate. It's really, it's more like a golf swing, or more like the craft of throwing a football, and, the right type of spiral. If you're trying to, get a pass in there quick on a short route, or trying to drop one over a certain coverage, like all those little details, we are very much trying to do the same things driving the car. And it's these little sensations that you have in your butt or in your feet or your hands, and you're just trying to like marry all those things up together at the right time. So it's so much more about the craft and those small little sensations than it is just going as fast as you can go and hoping for the best. And I think that part people probably don't understand to the level that it really is about.
Did he say gut or butt?
But
Yeah. What
Butt.
sensations are you? What butt sensations are you?
Yeah. Well, fair. Maybe bad choice of words, but
No, I
like,
want to know, like.
well, like,
No. I know what he means, because we have the same thing as football players.
God.
It was just a good follow-up. This is what I don't know. What kind
Yeah,
of sensations are they in the race?
well, for us, we're sitting down, right? Like we're sitting and driving for a long period of time. So, the bottom of the seat is the closest thing to the ground that you have. So that's a pretty normal term for race car drivers, is like what you're feeling in your butt and the seat, and like all that stuff that is moving really fast, like right below you.
Makes sense.
And so yeah, just small little sensations, and you're always looking for, you're just trying to time it up and make it all as perfect as you can, from corner entry to how you get across the center of the corner and getting your angles right. There's just a lot of little details that people probably don't pick up on.
I mean, listen, I just learned something today. I didn't know that.
does your butt there completely just die? Because I know you're not sitting on like a beautiful cushion over there. Like,
That's another great question.
Like it is, yeah. Fortunately,
my butt dies.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
That's not a
yeah,
Let's get into the butt of it all. Let's hear it.
yeah. We're
deep into it now,
following
Chase.
up, baby. Fortunately, we actually are pretty comfortable. Like all of our seats are, they're molded to us, so they're all very custom.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm more comfortable in my race car than I am in a street car going down the road. Like
wow.
it's a pretty comfortable. It should be, because like you asked earlier, the races are very long. So if you're uncomfortable in there, you're in for a long day.
Yeah, no doubt.
One thing that you asked, what surprised us the most, I guess, for me, it was the speed of the car. Because when you watch it on TV, it does not look that fast. And then when they brought us down to the box for the start and the cars took off, I looked at Robert and I'm like, oh my God. Like, that has to be terrifying. Like, for me as a fan, that was terrifying to watch you guys go that fast into a turn. And the turn's not like here, going that way. It's here, cut back. Like,
almost 180 degrees the other way.
the
Yeah,
first turn in Austin is like that. You go up
It
the hill
is.
and then it comes back.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
Yep.
so that was super surprising to me, because like on TV, the cars do not look that fast.
yeah, it is, and I think that's just one of the cooler experiences about motorsports in general, is feeling that speed and witnessing that firsthand is kind of hard to replicate and see that on TV. So I always tell people it's worth seeing at least once or twice. Like just go get an appreciation for it, understand it, and then you can kind of watch it on TV and be like, man, hey, like that. I know that that's different than what it looks like right here, and it just gives you a little different perspective of it. But yeah, for us, I would say it's not so much the speed. Like I don't get a thrill from going fast anymore. Like that part is, and honestly, I would say all the drivers would tell you this. It's not. I'm not like, oh man, we're doing 200 miles an hour. Like that's just that's not crazy. You know what I mean?
You do
But
well in Germany on the Autobahn.
fair. I think you just become so much more competition driven. Like it's like when you're going down the interstate and you're all doing 85, you don't feel like you're doing 85, or doing 80. It's very similar for us. Like we're doing 180 or 200, but you don't really think about it until you hit something, and then you realize you're going fast. But yeah, so just different, just such a perspective thing that I think you do need to witness to understand.
And you've been doing this for a while now, and you talk about like the competitiveness of it and the strategy. Like from your experience, what wins races now that didn't win races 10 years ago?
Oh man, I think you have to be probably more perfect today than I think you had to be 10 years ago. And by perfect, I just mean in all areas of everything that we do. Like, I think there were some voids 10 years ago that were you would look at today and you'd be like, man, that was easy money, if we had done this or that. And when you look at it today, it's like, man, the cars are all super close from a competitive standpoint. The speed is really close. So when that happens and you have these cars that are all so similar, it becomes really hard to be different. And it puts a lot of emphasis on all the tiny details, like how fast our pit stops are. Are we getting in and off pit road efficiently? Like all these small little things that you probably weren't even, I mean, you knew about them 10 years ago or 15 years ago, but you weren't putting the type of emphasis that you are today on them. So I would say just the level of detail that we are at right now is as high as I've ever seen it to perform well. So there's just not, there's not many stones left unturned, I don't feel like, in today's racing world.
Yeah, I feel like that's true amongst all sports. I think that's the NBA conversation, the NFL conversation. It's like the detail, the advanced training, like the margins are so small now. Whereas before you could be 230 pounds as a defensive tackle in the NFL 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Now you won't see anyone. They're all dang near over 300 pounds playing in there. So I think that's a conversation that really doesn't just span NASCAR, but it spans all sports of how competitive it has gotten, especially with the access to information.
You have won the Popular Driver Award multiple times, just like your dad used to. Does that add pressure to you, or does like kind of give you a freedom?
I would say neither. Like I've never felt any pressure from it, like to go and like I want to go do a good job regardless, and I think that works on the other side too. Like fortunately, I guess, or unfortunately, some days I'm pretty, I'm a pretty fierce competitor. I'm pretty hard on myself. Like I want to perform at as high a level as I possibly can. I feel like I'm capable of doing that. So I feel like I hold myself to a pretty high standard, and I've always expected a lot from myself, and I think because of that, I don't really I don't put a lot of emphasis on just the outside, opinion or noise or any of that stuff really anymore. There might have been a time coming along where you thought about it some, but with experience and with time, I think that you learn what matters in life a little more in sports, certainly. And when you really start boiling the things off that don't make a difference, it's pretty easy to look inwardly for a lot of those answers. And yeah, definitely proud of our approach with that.
I think that might be why the fans love you. It seems like you connect really well with the fans. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I my family's had a huge spot in our sport for a long time. My dad, left a huge impression in racing. His brothers, my grandfather was involved in racing as well, kind of helped them get their start. And I think for them, probably more about them than it is about me, because, truthfully, my story is way different than what theirs was back in the day. I mean, they were a group of, three brothers from North Georgia who kind of did things their own way and were small town guys and went and had success on NASCAR's biggest stage. Like that's a really easy story to get behind, right? And for people to like kind of that underdog story. And so for me, my story was very different, right? My dad had great success in the sport, and because of that, I got interested in racing, and definitely, why wouldn't I want to at least try? And, fortunately there was enough success to lead to some more opportunities for me, but I've always looked at it as an opportunity to kind of carry our family's history and heritage for the right way, but also the way that I think they would want me to do it. And to me, as long as I'm doing things and going home and, you know, dad being proud of something that I did, or Uncle Ernie being proud of something that I did or said or whatever, then to me that's a win. You know, if I'm doing things the way that they would see fit, because things are totally different today. And so yeah, that's kind of how I've looked at it. Is it's really just a continuance and an opportunity to kind of carry their name forward.
What is something that your dad taught you that has the most impacted your career?
Well, I think there's really been more. I've learned more from him, I would say, than not. And, you know, we've done a lot of racing together over the years. It's really been difficult to pick one thing because I think most things that I've learned throughout my time have come from him. But truthfully, I would say a lot of it probably away from the racetrack more than on track. Just, you know, how are you handling things? You know, as we talked about earlier, a lot of obligations like balance and some of that stuff is it seems simple and, you know, seems easy. It's not some days. Like being able to put things in the right categories and prioritize what you need to prioritize to do a good job. So all that stuff, you know, I think Dad has, and his experience, and he lived it. And but I will say he's also let me mess up, you know, and he's let me figure things out on my own, which I think has been important too. So yeah, a little bit of both, but I'm appreciative of both sides of that.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. I'm more than sure. You know, I can't speak for you, Dad, obviously, but I'm more than sure he's proud of what you've been able to accomplish thus far in your career. You know, there's a certain contingent of fans out there that believe NASCAR needs more stars, like really more than ever. How do you feel about that? Do you think there's a need for NASCAR to build itself back up in that way?
I think if it's natural, yes. You know, I think number one, most important thing we can do is stay true to ourselves, because I think as soon as we go and we start trying to be something that we're not, you might as well forget it.
Right.
And, you know, I think that is the most important thing that we can do as a sport and as a group and as a whole. So whatever that looks like, as long as it's natural, absolutely. Let's have stars, but you can't, you know, stars in anything they're not fabricated. Like these things happen organically. So yeah, it's an easy thing to say, hey, yeah, we need more stars, but what we're going to do, go, you know, make a wish list, you know, or, you know, genie in a bottle. Like, I don't know how you do that without just letting it happen. So, correct. I mean, I totally understand the argument. I don't disagree. I think it would be super healthy for our sport, but I think those things have to happen on their own. And the best thing we can do, again, is stay true to ourselves, let our racing and the entertainment value of our sport speak for itself. And if people are in tune and enjoying what we're doing and are entertained by the events and the shows that we're putting on, stars will be created from that. And I think that all starts with the entertainment and the show that happens on the weekends and what that looks like to the casual viewer.
That makes sense.
Talking about stars, it leads us to our viral spiral number 1. And we're talking about Michael Jordan's impact on NASCAR.
Yeah.
Do you think Michael Jordan has made NASCAR, how do I say, cooler? Like, do you think people will actually show up just because MJ is there? Or do you think that's like pushing it too much?
It's a good question. I think that it is a great thing for us as an industry to have somebody like MJ be involved. Just from the standpoint of, you know, the impact he has on sports in general. I mean, the guy is who he is, right? Like, I don't know that it gets much bigger than MJ. And I think for him to me, the coolest part about him, and I don't know him very well at all. My interactions with him have been incredible. Just simply, you know, there's been times where he's, you know, given me a high five or shook my hand or give me a pat on the back. And I'm like, man, how does he even know? Like, how does he even know who I am? You know what I mean? Like, so for me, those are some really cool moments that, you know, that guy cared enough. I don't race for him, you know, or whatever, to say hey or to, you know, lift you up. But his genuine joy that he gets from racing is so childlike. I love it because
He picking people up.
Yeah, he is. He loves it.
Yeah, like you can see it, and I just think it's amazing that, you know, he grew up watching it, grew up loving it, right? And I think that totally comes out in his ownership and his impact that he has on his race team. And I also think it's a little bit of a competitive thing for him. Like, he's a super competitor, and he wants to win. And I think that our sport loves that. I think our sport needs that. But kind of going back to us staying true to what we're doing, I think the biggest thing that works for Michael being involved is that he is being true to himself by being a part of our sport because he loves it that much. And I think that's why it works. And I think that's why they're doing well too.
No, there's some people out there that think that he saved NASCAR with the lawsuit, that he filed and ended up winning.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that part of it, and how MJ, along with you guys racing the way that you do and staying true to the sport, can really help the sport of NASCAR continue to grow globally?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't super in tune with the lawsuit and the things that went on there. I think there's a lot of layers to what we do, and certainly, I don't have ownership inside a race team to know what some of those conversations look like on the back end, right? Like, I'm layered down a couple of steps from that. So that one's a little above me, but I do think that, from his perspective, he's a super competitor, like I said a minute ago. And if you have a guy that, takes that type of, competitive edge that he had throughout the entirety of his career and what made him great, and you inject that into what we have and collectively put those things together, I don't see how it could be a bad thing. So,
all right, Jace, we have a segment called the hot seat, where you're on the hot seat and it's just a quick question, quick answer.
Okay.
All right, what's the hardest track to win at?
I think that depends on the driver. For me, it's been Darlington. First off, it's an extremely tough racetrack, I think, for everyone. For me in particular, it's been a struggle. I don't always, if I had that answer, I would have fixed it, I think, a long time ago, in fairness. But some places just, are tougher for some people than they are others. And I would say that one's been as tough as any, for us for the last few years.
What rule would you change in NASCAR tomorrow if you could?
Oof. This is also a popular question, one I don't have a lot of great answers for that are going to keep me from getting in trouble. So I think that I enjoy it. I do think some of the races can be a little too long. I think that some of the races can be a little lengthy.
Okay. What driver do you trust the most?
I'm good friends with Blaney, so I would say Ryan. Most guys they're all pretty good. Like, I mean, there are definitely guys that you trust a little more than others, but for the most part, the field is pretty talented.
Who do you trust the least?
We'll skip that one today.
I'll go back to the one you had before. Blaney is actually the driver whose car our daughter picked out at the Austin race. She loved watching him race. So that's cool that you guys are friends. What's your favorite track to race at?
Probably Bristol. I love going to Bristol. That place is just so cool. And I'm a huge sports fan. I've I grew up watching all of it, right? Like, just loved all of it. And for me, being a NASCAR guy, and growing up watching sports and football and all that stuff, Bristol is like the closest thing that we have to a stadium. And it's the closest thing that, like, makes you feel like you're at a baseball field or at a football field or whatever. And I just think it totally captures everything right there, up close, personal to the fans. And it's a super fun track to drive on too. So I just think the whole experience for the drivers, the teams, the fans, the TV, like, all of it is at its peak there.
Do you think Drewski got the NASCAR fan impersonation right?
I'm not sure. I don't know who that is.
Oh my
who
God,
is that?
You didn't see it?
No.
You gotta go look it up after that and tell us later what you think about it.
Okay, we'll look that one up.
Okay, what's one word you would use to describe a NASCAR fan?
Passionate.
Oh, yeah.
Super passionate.
Who do you think the greatest driver of all time is?
I mean, I think that it'd have to be you look at Richard, Dale, and Jimmy. I mean, those guys all have 7 championships. The debate of who, that's like LeBron, Michael Jordan debate, like, that's just a tough one that there is no comparing the different eras. It's just something you can never do. So
Right.
all three of those guys have 7 rings. They're all pretty damn impressive to me.
I can respect that answer too, because it shows appreciation for the past.
Yeah.
Who do you think is the most underrated NASCAR legend? The one that's not mentioned as much as you think as he should be?
Honestly, of those, Jimmy. I don't think Jimmy has gotten the credit that he deserves. You know, I think that, you know, people look at NASCAR and they think Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty immediately. You know, Jimmy's career was incredible. I mean, some of the things that he did, and I know that, you know, they had a great team and all those things, but that's sports, you know, like sometimes that's the way it works out. You get the right people at the right time. 7 championships is incredible, but this dude won 5 in a row. Like, to think about that, you know, 5 championships, you know, consecutively is, to me, pretty next level. So I don't think he's ever received the credit that he's deserved for the dominance that they had through that time.
Shout out to Jimmy Johnson.
Okay, before we let you go, what's harder, winning the Daytona 500 or winning a championship?
That's a tough one. I would put them pretty close, but for kind of different reasons. You know, the championship to me is a very different thing than the Daytona 500. The 500 is really it's kind of its own championship, really, on its own island. Like, the race is it's such a toss up. There's just so many things that are out of your hands that I think make that race really, you know, really difficult to win. You know, whereas racing for a season-long championship is, you know, just about being as perfect as you can be, and all those things. So both very hard, but both very, very different.
What would winning a second championship mean for you personally?
Oh man, yeah, it's I mean, it's what we set out for every year, you know, like that's to me, that's the pinnacle of our sport, and been, you know, fortunate to do it once, as you mentioned. And I think that, you know, for me, at least right now, I think that probably changes year to year, like what, you know, what brings you back, or what, you know, fires you up right now. And I think it's, you know, we had a car change back in 22, and when that, you know, change happened, it really has adjusted a lot of how we drive these cars nowadays. Like, you kind of go back to all the little details, and a lot of those little details changed. And I think it's just kind of pushed us to be better in different areas. So I think, you know, accomplishing that in this generation of car, and being able to have done it in 2 different generations of vehicles, I think is a, you know, a pretty tough feat, and one that not a lot of people can say they've done. So we'd love to check that box, and to, you know, to get to where we need to go is definitely not an easy thing. So yeah, the generation of car change is a challenge, and yeah, one we'd like to get right before it's over with.
Chase, we appreciate you coming on the show, spending some time with us, and we like to finish each one of our shows with a little bit of motivation. And I'm going to start it with a question to you personally, and then for you to just take it and encourage anyone else out there who might be going through similar things, or trying to figure out like what they have left to prove. But the question is, what does Chase Elliott still have to prove, and why are you still driving?
Well, I think for me, it's I'm just drawn back by the never-ending pursuit of perfection. Like, that's just something you're never gonna totally find. And I think that in any sport, and honestly, even away from the field or away from the racetrack, I think it's applicable. But there's always room to be better. There's always room to push yourself. And I think the truth of the matter is, only you know when you're shorting yourself from doing what you're capable of or not. And you know, holding yourself accountable to that standard that you know you're capable of is probably the most important thing you can do from a personal standpoint. You know, that the going to the gym on the days when, you know, you don't have to, or don't feel like you need to, or, you know, studying that extra little bit on a play, or on a meeting, or on a race, or, you know, whatever it is. So holding yourself accountable to the standard that you want to be at is big. And I still feel like I have room to improve, and that's what keeps bringing me back. And I think I'm capable of more, and I truly believe that. So until I get to that point or fail trying, I'll probably keep going.
Well, Chase, you're doing an incredible job of it. Like I said, we appreciate you coming on the show. We know what you just said. People watching at home are going to be inspired by. So that'll do it for this episode of Outta Pocket with RG3, hosted by you boy and the lovely 125-time All-American Griffin. Make sure y'all leave a comment letting us know what you thought about the episode, whether you want to see Chase get a second championship, and who you want us to bring on the show next. Chase, if we had to pick one driver to bring on next, who do you think we should bring on?
I will stick with Blaney. He's a good dude, good friend. I think he'd have fun. A lot of energy. I think he'd enjoy being on. A big sports guy too, so that'd be a good one.
Awesome. Blaney it is.
Thanks, Chase.
See you guys. Thanks.
Chase. God bless, bro.
Yep. See you guys.